Welcome to the Seriously Social podcast with your host, Simone Douglas. Our guest this episode is NLP coach Tatjana Turcinov. She and Simone chat about storytelling in tribal life and our modern life, and the vital importance of human connection in a complex world.
Welcome to this week's episode of Seriously Social, and today I am joined by Tatjana Turcinov.
Yes.
Thanks very much for coming along today.
Thank you for having me here, Simone.
My pleasure. Perhaps you can just give us the Cliff Notes version of how you find yourself here today.
Well, it is a very interesting story because I never thought I would live in Adelaide.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband, who is from Adelaide, basically he traveled a long time ago to Europe to make a documentary movie and have a holidays, and he stayed there for 15 years. So now it's my turn. I'm only in year 10 here.
Yeah.
So yeah, and you probably remember we met at the Rotary in Adelaide, and I'm internationally certified coach and trainer of NLP, which is Neuro-Linguistic Programming, and that's basically who I am. And I have an accent when I speak English.
Oh, okay. Well, I just think you sound lovely.
Yeah,
I think that's how that works. So NLP is a fascinating field, and obviously, huge globally. But for perhaps some of the business owners out there and listeners that may not have encountered NLP before in any kind of formalized structure, what is it?
Basically, I usually say it is interdisciplinary psychotherapeutic method, which helps people setting the goals, coaching people, training people, mentoring, and it basically uses the best tools from all different psychotherapeutic fields. It started a long time ago in the 70s, basically from Richard Grinder and John Grinder and Richard Bandler, sorry. And basically they did a lot of tools. They start modeling people. They introduced also hypnosis, which was already there. And it is a very popular tool. And then they divided into two streams. So let's say in Adelaide is more popular American way. So that is Bandler, go, 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 do, yes, motivation. People know about Anthony Robbins, so that stream. While I am from Grinder's stream, and my professor of NLP is one of assistants from John Grinder, and basically also my professor was from Stuttgart, Nada Kaiser, who is a psychiatrist. So I was lucky to study. It is more like exactly as I said, psychotherapeutic. You sit in a circle, you reflect, you learn a lot, and it's a very long process to get certified, basically, to get to the trainer level. First is practitioner, then it's master practitioner, then it's coach, and then it's trainer. So I can train the trainers.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So here in Adelaide, do you offer training or more coaching?
When I started here, I thought that, I will be doing some trainings, but then basically because I got a job straight when I arrived to Adelaide, and I'm always having some business, I do a lot of pro bono coaching and training. And I was at one point of time with ICF, International Coaching Federation, and treasurer with a member of the leadership team. But basically, I always get people, we call this Mundreklame, word of mouth, People, if they need some help or they want to just have a chat about something, they come to me. And I do a lot of pro bono with Rotary, so Adelaide University Rotaract Club. A lot of international students, and helping them basically to teach them how to go through life, how to set the goals, and that's what I do. But I see myself as a storyteller because I always have a story to tell.
Yeah, that's been a bit of a common theme lately with some of my podcasting guests, is that just that power of storytelling and how to embrace that aspect of self. Do you think in today's modern age where we have so many digital mediums and a high degree of disconnectedness, so there are so many people who don't have that anchors, whether it's church or community or things like that, that we're losing our way to story and to navigate?
Yes, it was much more embraced in the old times because we had grandmothers or we had aunties or we had tribes which we would sit around the fire and we would talk. While then we had fairy tales, and that basically damaged us a little bit, because we think everyone will live happily ever after. But life happens, and life can be very unpredictable. And I did work for 6.5 years in disability employment services and community mental health, and I still volunteer in one of the programs. So to have a balance, right balance I usually say in a heart and mind, it is a skill, and we need to find people who can give us that, who can train us. There are a lot of issues, especially nowadays, as you mentioned, social media. People get disconnected because nothing can change the human touch and human communication. When we sit next to each other, when we feel our vibrations, when we look in someone's eyes, that is what matters. And we are social creatures, so we need people around ourselves.
Yeah, and I think during the pandemic, obviously we had an absence of people around ourselves. Very lucky here in Adelaide these days, but and in Australia for that matter. But in business, I suppose one of the things that I'm really finding is that the businesses that have successfully come out of lockdowns and things very quickly turned around, their trading conditions and things, they're the ones that got back to that face-to-face real life connection very quickly.
Yes, and if you have a support from a family or friends or partner or someone, if you have that other human being close to you, then it's easier, to discuss the ideas. Yes, we can do a lot of things over Zoom or Skype and WhatsApp and so on, but it is always important to stay in touch with nature and with the human beings to get that right balance. Because you talk to a lot of people about mindfulness and yoga and all these therapies. People need to take time sometimes just to breathe, to breathe in and breathe out, and to get into the right vibration and into the right state of mind.
Yeah, that's very true. I have my words for that is like a very carefully constructed happy bubble that I live within, and it's doesn't mean that there aren't unpleasant things that happen around me or externally to me, but I have control over this aspect of self, which is how I start my morning and having a good cup of coffee and listening to the right music and having those kind of routines. Why don't they teach things like that in schools?
Well, I'm questioning. There are certain schools which have that kind of navigation where they started teaching children mindfulness and they started teaching people also non-violent communication. I'm very big in a non-violent communication. The way how we command our language is very important, and to use the right words and with the right energy as well. Although, who am I to say, because with my accent I come sometimes very strong across. But that's why we need to be mindful about everything. And it is going on. Children are very mindful nowadays. And you see the whole movement, internationally movement, protection of women against domestic violence, against any kind of bullying or harassment at the workplace. People are getting finally more aware. So it is sad, because the history of humankind is basically a history of wars and misery. And I hope that all this, even with this pandemic, we can see the light side. That we progress, that we all stuck together, that we are helping other countries, that we learned how to be cautious, how to wash our hands, how to cough and sneeze and all that stuff. So you can always see the light and the sunny side of the road in every situation.
I think that is a learnt behaviour though. For many, I think some people are really lucky and they're born with it perhaps, or it doesn't get broken out of them as they're growing up. But I think it's important for people to understand that just because they're in a difficult place right now, doesn't mean that they have to stay there, that they have a choice. Might not feel like they do.
Yeah. When the pandemic started with the Rotary Club of Adelaide and Rotaractors, we organized straight away one like a session. So we would go through the virtual room and we were talking, and I was trying to help these students how to deal with the stress and with unknown.
Yeah.
And when we went through the circle, everyone thought, oh my God, I'm feeling the same like the others. So we all have the same struggles and we all have the same worries. So what we can do to change that? So they started the cooking classes, they started going out, then cleaning around the city and so on. And they built the society within self.
Yeah.
And it is also very difficult. People have different strength and different resilience. Some people can become afraid or stressed or upset because someone bangs the door, because we don't know what that means in their subconscious. I'm also very big in talking about unconscious life script. Unconscious life script is something what develops in children between age 3 to 6, sometimes till 8. And this is from your childhood, how you were, your upbringing was. It doesn't necessarily mean that if you had a nice and protected family that you will know how to deal with the troubles. Because we don't know, what stories we tell to ourselves, what is our inner voice inside. No, when I was little, I fell off the bridge. So for me, I fell off the bridge and I survived, and that's a wonderful story, and I'm fine. When I was 29, I was sitting next to the ditch on the road, and someone was pointing a long gun into my back for half an hour. Wow. And I was waiting and thinking, oh my God, this is the last thing that I will see, and I survived, and it was just because I was born in the wrong side of the fence and wrong surname, or he didn't look the way I look, or something. It doesn't matter, but it is how strong and how soon when you fall down, you are able to
get back up,
get yourself up and say, okay, today is another day. Look, sunny outside, we are breathing, we are alive, we have water, we have computers, we have mobile phones, we have more that we can eat sometimes. It's just those little things which come together. Oh my God, I'm talking too much. Ask me questions, please.
So I think languages and perspective are really powerful things. And understanding, the script that you're loaded in with during your childhood allows you to make different choices as an adult. So I remember in my 20s doing, I think it's called Transactional Analysis with a therapist, where they asked me 100 questions and I gave them all the answers, and then they fed back to me what those things meant in context. And it was really eye-opening, not because it made anyone wrong or bad or indifferent, but because it gave me an opportunity to recognize, okay, well, this is the programming, so I can choose to unpack that now and rewrite it and do something differently.
Exactly. And even in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, this programming is, people say, oh, you will teach me and do something and hypnosis. No, it is that you reprogram yourself, because every coach will lead you where you want to go. They can't take you where you don't want to go. Mentor is there to support you when you are working and something. It's very interesting how much we developed now, while it was 50 or 100 years ago.
Do you think also one of the conversations I have with a lot of my friends when they're looking at finding someone to talk to, whether it's a therapist or a coach or somebody, don't give up if the first person you choose doesn't work.
Great point. Because even you go sometimes to GP, and if you go to big medical center, there are tens of them. Not necessary that you will click the first one, So it is like also with the friends. People, you have some friends in a certain ages, and then they go out from your life and the new one comes. So it is same with a psychotherapist, with a coach, with a mentor. You can have 2 or 3 mentors for different fields, It It is a human connection, and it is the way how we communicate together.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think it's important for, particularly business owners, but generally for human beings to consider, as we're kind of in the middle of that 12-month anniversary of the pandemic? So I had a conversation with a bunch of business owners the other day I said, don't be surprised if in the last week you found yourselves quite irritable, quite tired, unusually sad or despondent. And they're like, why? And I'm like, well, it's the 12 months.
It's a year.
It's muscle memory.
So,
yes,
correct. What I think it is, as a business owner, I did run business back home a long time ago, and basically it is to assess the risks. Where are you now? And what are your plans for the future? Then also to see what are the resources that you have. Can you do everything on your own, or do you have resources, or where you can find the resources, or maybe to join with someone, to have some kind of partnership and have some cooperation together, like many more people, especially when it comes to the artists, they do different projects and they can do a lot of things together. And it's always that work and discipline which is important. Your self-discipline, to wake up in the morning, to do the best what you can, and when you go in the evening, say, oh, well, that was a great day, because in every day there is something great that you succeeded, that you done. And then next morning when you wake up, say, oh, it's a new day, fantastic, let's go, let's see what we will do today. It's like a game. It is a game that basically it's a journey, and we don't know where it will bring us.
Yeah, I think that's a really nice point to wrap up on. A very smart man, a good friend of mine, Dr. Trail Dowie, he taught me a long time ago that life is a game of your own choosing.
Yes.
And you're the umpire, so you can change the rules whenever you like.
Exactly.
And that was a very empowering, freeing thing, because every time I was like, oh, and then I was like, well, it doesn't have to be that way. I can do something else differently. So Tatjana, thanks very much for joining me today. It's been lovely.
Thank you for having me here. I really enjoy talking with you. Every time when I see you, it's something new.
Excellent. Great. So you'll find Tatjana's link to her LinkedIn profile in the sections where we share the podcast across the internet. And if you are interested in learning more about her coaching and neuro-linguistic programming, reach out to her on LinkedIn and have a chat. She's very much like me. We like to meet new people. So,
yes. Yeah. And I always do, as I said, a lot of pro bono coaching, or I can speak on the events. So it's a fun.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks very much.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Seriously Social. Check our website for the latest news, show notes, and for details about Simone's latest book, Confident Networker. You'll find us at social media, aok.com.au/podcast.